Yeah, first of all, a warm welcome. Thank you, Cybert Media, for having me or us today. And welcome to my today's session called Display What You Want, a whole new level of issue data visibility in Jira Cloud. About me, as the speaker of today, my name is Thorsten. I have started my Atlassian journey almost 5 years ago at Decadis and as a technical consultant, and I'm currently working as a product manager, being responsible for our Atlassian Marketplace app portfolio. That said, I'm still trying to keep up with the general product knowledge and can call myself a Atlassian certified expert due to a couple of certifications, so at least I try to know what I'm talking about. Decadis is an Atlassian Gold solution and Gold Marketplace partner based in Germany, and with currently 10 apps available on the marketplace. They unfortunately did not fit on the whole screen, and you might have probably heard of us due to our workflow automation app, Jira Workflow Toolbox, which is currently the top-rated app on the Atlassian Marketplace among the Jira apps. So what I'm going to present you today, or better put, why it's worth being presented, is that Jira itself is full of issue data. And for example, every change of every issue is tracked from the initial point of its creation. However, some of this data is more accessible than others. So the most common way to access the issue information is the issue view. And let's take this story as an example. I have the common fields like, for example, the project name, an issue key. I have a summary, I have a description. I have additional fields on the right, for example, the status, user-rated fields like the assignee or the reporter, labels, components, all the default stuff, time-related fields like the created or updated date, as well as other custom fields if I have added to my screens. On the bottom, if present, and I have some related issues like, for example, subtasks or linked issues, I have a short overview among some panels with some basic information like, again, the issue key, the issue type, summary, and as we see here, the assignee and the status and the priority. However, by default, that's basically it. So no further information available on that overview screens. Switching over to another example issue to demonstrate a little other, let's call it a small treasure of information regarding the issue view. We have the issue history where all the changes are tracked. So it's not only tracked when something was changed, but also what the condition or the value was before and after the change. However, when you start to search for or look up a specific change, you have to do that manually. So you have to scroll down, you have to search to find your matching entry. That said, we have to realize that sometimes very simple or basic pieces of information are difficult or even impossible to access in default Jira. Like, for example, questions about the previous assignee of an issue, the latest status change, so the timestamp of the status change, the time an issue is currently in, or the time an issue is in its current status. The project or the component lead might sometimes be worth looking up, or information that a user would like to access in an easy way. But also some kind of aggregated data, so the total story points in an epic, the total attachment signs, etc. So you name it, there are lots of levels of information that are not available that easy. To sum it up, what's actually accessible in the default Jira view is sometimes the famous tip of the iceberg. That's why I'm happy to have the opportunity today to introduce to you our solution facing these challenges. We have released just a couple of days ago, just a couple of weeks ago, a new app on the Atlassian Marketplace called Smart Fields for Jira. And besides showing a few examples, I'd like to give you an impression of how the app actually works today. First of all, Smart Fields for Jira introduces 2 new custom field types, a smart text field as well as a smart number field. And they are used for calculating or composing the textual or numerical value of your interest. To make this app accessible for a wide audience of users, it was clear to us that we would aim for a no scripting solution. So the configuration is based on so-called expressions, a concept introduced by our other app, Jira Workflow Toolbox. It's actually, to be fair, not a no-code solution, but we call it a low-code solution because such high flexibility comes with a certain or decent amount of complexity as well. But we still state that it's a low-code solution with a very low entry barrier. Let's take a look at the configuration page of such a smart text field here. The core element when configuring, so you have added the field, you jump over into the configuration, and the core element is our so-called expression editor field. Within this so-called expression editor, you can select between two different modes. We have a so-called general mode. This supports a language that we built up or we defined that has been introduced with Jira Cloud Toolbox. The other language that we support is the so-called Jira expression language, some syntax that is maintained, supported, and sometimes even documented by Atlassian itself. When it comes to writing such expressions, we aimed towards being, and I said that before, highly accessible. So for example, if you just want to insert a field value, you can search for those fields in our field selector field. You can obviously search for a specific field, just select it from the dropdown, and it's added to the editor. The naming convention of those field codes aims towards high readability, providing a steep learning curve. So for example, like here, we have the issue status. If you would like to refer to the parent's issue status, it would just be parent.status. So it's, even for let's call it non-coding or non-scripting people, it should be highly accessible. To make it even more accessible, we have introduced a couple of other comfort features, like for example, now Autocomplete. So every time you are in the expression editor field, you can just start typing what you're looking for. You hit Control Space, and the dropdown opens. You can select the correct field code, which highly reduces potential mistakes. The editor also comes with a lot of, in this case here, a handful examples just to, on the one hand, get you going real quick. So we have selected a couple of use cases that are hopefully worth trying out. And by adding those examples, you get an impression of how the whole thing works. So like here, for example, we have selected the last comment example, which in this case is only a simple field code. So no sophisticated lines of code, etc. It's just one single click. Looking over to a little bit more complex example where we check for the issues attachments, you get an idea of such expressions can look like. Right here, we are using a so-called matches functions besides the field codes. The second core concept that Jira for Toolbox relies on. So you have the simple field codes, which then read the values from the specific fields. And then you have functions to actually manipulate those field values, to do stuff with this. And like here, this is, you might get the idea, this matches function checks for the text file ending among the attachments. And if there is one, we return a readable information like at least one text file is attached to the issue, and otherwise the prompt is shown that no text file is attached to this issue. In order to validate quickly and deploy your expressions with confidence, we also added a preview functionality to this expression editor. So every time you are in, or you try to write an expression, you have this play button over here. If you hit that one, you can then afterwards select an issue to run that expression against, and then the result is shown once you confirm that. Besides, we We, again, accessibility shipped a sophisticated in-app handbook that introduces you to all the concepts, field codes, functions. All the functions are listed there, providing examples for every specific function that you can then reuse by copy and paste. And if that's not enough, obviously there is a quite complex or quite extensive documentation, and with the core concept being a use case library where you can select other use cases you might come up with and just copy over them by copy and paste and reuse them. Okay, let's look at some examples. So much for the theory. For example, like here, first example issue, we are tracking the release, and by using smart fields, we are able to aggregate data and, for example, like here, show totals for the estimation, total for the time spent, or even can show customized values like here we introduced an hourly rate, and calculate internal costs for our version in Jira. Another example, also again, a more sophisticated one, this rec status field, traffic lights, depending on the time left to the due date or the days left until the due date, we show either a green sign if we have more than 14 days left. If we only have, or if we have more than 7 days left, we show a yellow sign, and otherwise a red sign. Last but not least, among the examples, we can also use smart fields to, for example, calculate a criticality score. So based on a selection, in this case, the impact field, we can put numbers behind those options and can then do a calculation of the criticality to rank, for example, bugs to order our backlog. So while there are obviously thousands of other use cases that you might come up with, and I hope that it already inspired you to think of ones that help you in a daily work yourself, that should already be it for today. And as a short wrap-up, the key concepts of Smart Fields for Jira are the introduction of 2 custom field types, which are highly flexible due to 2 supported languages. We are able to draw contextual issue data from the issue itself, but also issue data from related or linked issues. Those fields are updated in real time, so every time I access an issue or every time an update happens, those values are recalculated, so they're always in sync. And those fields are also available in JQL. They can also be in JQL queries. Okay, that much for now. Due to the short time frame, any questions spontaneously? No one.
Do you have any questions?
Only impressed faces.
Do you have experience in, because it's actually, you just published it.
Yes.
Do you have experience in performance impact?
You mean regarding the instance?
Yeah, because I suppose you can create multiple of these smart fields, right?
The good thing or the bad thing is, depends on how you want to state it, is that this app is based on Forge. So there are already limits in place, and we are not even actually able to destroy something.
Yeah.
So it's more the other side, that we are facing some limitations that slow down our calculation. But yeah, so there is nothing that we're aware of yet.
Okay, great, thanks.
Anything else? There's no one hand. On the far right.
Thanks. I'm a little bit slow, but I know my target, so.
In that last example, does your tool do simple mathematical calculations?
Once again, please.
In the last example you
Yes.
showed, where you had certain values chosen from the field above, does it do simple mathematical calculations as a part of the tool?
Yes, even the complex ones. So
Okay.
if you ever wanted to, I don't know, calculate the square root of something in Jira, you can do it, but yeah.
I guess. Any
Okay.
questions?
No more questions? Then I'd like to conclude with a small information that aims towards the presentation my colleague Dave already gave. Being a participant of today's info session, we'd like to offer all of you, again, a 1-year Smart Fields for Jira for free, so you can just check it out and convince yourself of the actual value that the app gives. So 12 months or 1 year, depending on your billing cycle. And as already stated by my colleague Dave, the same applies for Space Tools Pro, for Confluence. And yeah, then I only can say once again, thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you, Zapad Media, for having us and hosting this awesome event. And if you want, or if you have questions that, I don't know, arise afterwards, we are here the following days. So we are present at the team, unfortunately without a booth. But if you, for example, visit the domain hellox.app, you find the contact information, you find us on LinkedIn, just drop us a message, let's chat, and we're here for all that you might come up with. Thank you very much.